Sometimes the Bible uses terminology we don't even use, like behold. Like nobody says that anymore. I always tell a story about taking one of my kids to a Monster Jam truck rally when they were little, and he loved Gravedigger, little kid, and never once when Gravedigger came out did my son look at me and go, "Behold, it's Gravedigger." So what does he mean by that? He's saying, look at this. I want you to pay attention to this and be amazed by it. Well, check it out. This is A Quest for Greatness with Zach Krug, talking about amazement in this video. Probably something that's missing in most of us, our Christian lives. Just being amazed with God, not just what He's done, but who He is. Do you have that in your life? You know this, for most of you, this channel is about finding the truth. That should be what the whole walk is about. It's also about me sharing my personal experiences, my ups and downs, growths and failures, and also about dispelling the myths that a lot of us as Christians hold, or that we might have allowed to infiltrate our thinking from the world outside of us. I was talking about the word behold, which is in the King James in 1 John chapter 3 and verse 1. Actually, I'm going to back up a little bit in chapter 2 and verse 28. Remember, the Bible didn't have chapters and verses when it was first written. This is just a letter. And he says, and now little children, which is a term of endearment there, how he feels about them, abide in him, live, dwell in Christ. That's why I use that phrase immerse instead of baptism a lot of times. So that when he appears, we may have confidence and not shrink from him in shame at his coming, this positive uptick here. And you know that he is righteous. You may be sure that everyone who practices righteousness has been born of him. See the confidence building? Now, the amazement really kicks in chapter 3 and verse 1. The King James uses the word behold. The ESV is not as powerful, a little more subtle. See, see what kind of love the Father has given to us. Be amazed at how God is loved. And what's his point here? That we should be called children of God, that he's actually adopted me. It's really a privilege. That's one of those misunderstandings amongst Christians and people in general, that we're all God's children because we're human beings. Now, really, in the Bible, God's children are those who obey him and follow him, like Jesus calls us his sheep in John 10. But he says we have been called children of God, that God would adopt us and call me and you family. And John's amazed by this. He says, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Like, there's your scenario or your setting. The world doesn't understand us. The world doesn't get it. And it's not that we should be arrogant about that, but this kind of helps us. When I don't fit in, when I don't belong, I'm not supposed to belong. They didn't understand him. They didn't see him. They're not going to see me, because a servant is not greater than the master, as Jesus would say. But beloved, we are God's children now. We belong to him now. We're in his family, adopted in, going back to Romans 8. And what we will be has not yet appeared, but we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. I don't even know what I'm going to be like, what you're going to look like, what anybody's going to look like once we're translated, if that's the best way to put it. Once we're changed into these heavenly bodies, I don't even know what I'm going to look like. I don't care. I'm going to look like him. I'm going to see him as he is. And what's the reaction to this amazement? And I'm not doing it justice. I understand that. To be absolutely amazed, it takes time, and it does take work, and it takes effort, because we can't experience God like we experience each other. Everyone who thus hopes in him purifies himself as he is pure. I'm going to be exactly like him. This is my motivation. He's made me a child of his. I'm going to try my very best to be as pure as I possibly can within his power, within my power, in being a servant. But it starts with that amazement. See the type of love, the manner of love. And we know these, right? We see videos, and we see, I love those videos, in fact, of all of these, like soldiers returning home, or celebrities like The Rock, and people doing things for regular everyday people that just break them down. They can't believe that somebody so successful and powerful would do something that recognizes little old me, as we might say. Well, that's exactly what he's saying about God. Look at this. You think you've seen a love story? You think you've seen the expression? Look here and see what manner of love that God has shown to me and you by calling us children of his family. And he told a story one time, Ravi Zacharias told a story one time. He said, well, let me make the point at the end of it. He said, when he was younger, he was telling his kids a story about what it took to amaze them. He said, so he's got like a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old and I don't know, a 9-month-old or something like that. And so he says, he's telling this 5-year-old this story about little Tommy got up and, because it's always Tommy or Johnny, right? So little Tommy got up and walked over to the door and opened the door and out popped a dragon. And her eyes got really big. The 2-year-old, he's telling the same story too. He says, little Tommy got up from the bed, walked over to the closet and opened the door. And he said, her eyes got really big. So then his son, I think his name was Nathan, it's 9 months old. He said, same story, little Tommy got up and walked up to the door. And for Tommy, whose whole world, I think he said his whole worldview was exhausted in one word, which was cookie. It was a big thing to just get up and walk up to the door. He said for the 2-year-old, it took a little more to open the door. And then for the 5-year-old, of course, the dragon. And he said his point was, the older you get, the more it takes to fill your heart with wonder. And only God is big enough to do it. Right, talking about amazement, that's perfect, isn't it? The older you get, the more it takes to fill your heart with wonder. And only God is big enough to do it. Satan's been doing it from the beginning of time, which is keeping my mind and your mind off of God. That's the whole point, is to be amazed by him, by his generosity, by his love, everything about him. Be amazed. And the only way to do that is to go to the Word and see all that. Actually, you can look at his creation and see how amazing God is and focus on that. Not what all's wrong with everything else and everybody else, but be amazed with God. Once again, Zach with the Quest for Greatness, thanking you for watching this video. If you liked it, do what it took me a long time to remember to do, and just go hit the thumbs up. Like it. If you didn't like it, don't let us know that. Just hit the like button anyway. And if you want to keep up with what the content that we're releasing, if you want to see what's going on, hit the subscribe button. It helps us out as well. The notification bell if you want to be notified when we release videos. And look, comment. If you've got questions, if you've got thoughts or comments, if you've got negative reactions, if you've got content ideas, put that below in the comments and get involved. And look, this channel again is just about sharing the truth. It's about sharing my life in Christ with the ups and downs that it has, and also dispelling a lot of the myths that Christians hold. So I hope this helps you. Look forward to seeing you again.